Hello, I'm Jeff Thompson from GWS Financial Services, and welcome to our IRA rollover segment. We're doing this as a video webcast for you, and we're definitely looking forward to being able to share some very, very high quality content and information with you. So thank you so much for participating with us. This is going to take about 20 to 25 minutes, and then we'll be done. As we look at these different slides and we go through them, the main reason that we've gathered to discuss the opportunities that are available to you in your IRAs when you do one of three different things. You leave your job, either voluntarily or involuntarily, and the reason I say that is if you take a look at what's happened in the economy over the last couple of years, a lot of involuntary losses of jobs through layoffs, etc. The second area that you may be looking at having to make a decision on a 401k as a rollover is if you change your employers or your careers, and the third reason is if you retire. The reason I've put this segment together is I have a friend of mine who had a 401k with their company, and he had worked for the company for almost 20 years. He was laid off or terminated, and he had about $150,000 sitting in that 401k account when he left his job. He didn't do anything with it. When I met with him, and he said, yeah, you wouldn't believe this, my 401k dropped from $150,000 to $89,000 in less than a year. And the reason that that happened is that he did not manage through the expectations and put that money into a rollover to a stabilized account. Now remember the old paradigm when you graduated from college. You began your job at an entry-level position, you worked your way up the corporate ladder into management, and then into mid-level management, then senior management as a director or any other role, and then you retired, all with the same company. Hardly anyone does that anymore. The new paradigm in the job market is, as it lasts with employers and employees, on average 5 to 7 years in a typical 35-year working history. That means that somebody makes a transition 5 to 7 times in their lifetime in their job markets. If you've participated in an employer-sponsored plan, you may have amassed a lot of money or a great deal of money in your 401ks. Possibly all of it was in a tax-deferred situation, but now you've got to ask yourself, what do you do with that money? Well, that's where we move into the IRA rollover, and I'd like to take the time to welcome you to this presentation of moving from an employer-sponsored plan to an IRA. Over the next couple of segments here, we're going to go over the options that are available to help you make a decision on what to do with your retirement assets if and when you separate from your current employer. Now, our agenda today is as follows. When we look at the agenda, we're going to examine 3 different areas. What people do with their retirement accounts, the options that are available to you with those accounts, and then the creation of an action plan. It's extremely imperative that we have an action plan, so before we get into your options, let's consider what people are currently doing with those plans. There was a study that was conducted on 401k distributions in 2000 by Hewitt and Associates, and the report was called Cashing Out Your Future. And what it did is it looked at 170 401k distributions, and the numbers show a lot of the plan participants that were taking lump sum payouts regardless of their age. Now I'm going to explain these numbers to you so that you understand them. People in the age bracket of 20 to 29 years old took 78% of those in a lump sum distribution, 15% rolled it over to an IRA, and 7% moved it to their next qualified plan. Age 30 to 39 bracket, 66% took it in a lump sum distribution. 27% rolled it over to an IRA, and 7% again moved it into another qualified plan. In the age bracket of 40 to 49, 61% took a lump sum distribution, 33% moved it to an IRA in a rollover, and 6% kept it and moved it to another qualified plan. And then in the age bracket of 50 to 59, 60% of those people took a lump sum distribution. 36% of them moved them over to an IRA rollover, and 4% moved it to their next qualified plan. Now, the first thing I want to address here is when they took those lump sum distributions, there were taxable events that go with it. One conclusion you can draw from this is that many of those people, regardless of their age group, took the money out of their 401k, subject to taxation, and they missed the opportunity to take advantage of a tax-deferred rollover for growth. Tax deferred means that the assets grow and are reinvested as dividends on the assets and are not taxed until they are withdrawn. Again, that report study was done by Hewitt & Associates, LLC, and it was called Cashing Out Your Future, which was copyrighted in year 2000. So when you look at your IRAs and your options for it from your 401k rollovers, you have to be able to make an informed decision. Similar to planning a trip, you'll want to consider the best route to take to get you there, and you will want to, first off, map out the course to retirement. Secondly, evaluate the routes of distribution of those funds. And third, you want to bridge the gap between employment to retirement. The enjoyment of your retirement years may depend on the choices that you make today. And actually, here's the thing. The choices you make will determine the quality of your retirement without question. So when we look at making an informed decision, let's look at some of the components to consider when you're mapping out the course to retirement. The distance to retirement in time until retirement is very important. The more time you have to save and grow your retirement fund, the easier it's going to be, and the better your retirement quality is going to be. The length of time in retirement is also very important. How long are you going to live? Generally, the longer that you have to live, the more you need to accumulate for retirement. And then finally, to make sure that you carefully determine the amount necessary in capital for your retirement, identify the income sources that you're going to have during retirement, evaluate possible additional income sources during retirement, make sure that you consider taxes, inflation, and the order of liquidation in your retirement. And it is also very important to consider the large expenses that's occasionally going to come up. You may need to be able to buy a new car. You may have housing repairs, other things that go along with that. But I'm going to go back to one point here and discuss this. First off, evaluate possible additional income sources. Does that mean that you didn't plan well and you are considering becoming a Walmart door greeter? That's a reality for a lot of seniors who never thought that the way they'd planned would ever put them in that position. The other thing that I just want to carefully touch base on here is make sure you consider taxes and inflation. Remember that even though dollars grow, inflation eats at the value of that dollar, and what a dollar will buy you today, it certainly will not buy you in 15, 20, or 30 years. So those are very, very important points that I want to make here. Now, for your retirement, many of you will find that in retirement, it's going to take a lot more money than you were ever possibly able to save. And that's the reason that we take a look at utilizing factors such as accumulation and tax deferral on a compounded basis. Now that we've discussed what other people may be doing, let's turn our attention over to some of the other alternatives that are out there. These are your options for retirement planning. You really have four options you can work from. You can take a lump sum distribution from your 401k. You can keep your funds in the employer's plan, which is what my friend had done, by the way. You can move it to your new employer's plan, or you can roll the funds over into a rollover IRA. With respect to keeping the money in your former employer's plan, if your balance is $5,000 or less, the retirement assets may be distributed without your consent, meaning they may just send it to you and you'll have the taxable event that goes along with it anyway. Your retirement assets would need to exceed $5,000 to have that option to keep the money in the plan. Remember, though, when those funds are sitting in somebody else's plan, you don't have any control over it. That's how my friend lost almost half of his 401k, because he left it there and didn't manage it over to a safe harbor. Now, according to the National Association of Variable Annuities in 2002, if you expect you'll need at least $20,000 annually in income in retirement, you'll be responsible for 70 to 80% of that.